how to install Ubuntu 18.04 operating system on Windows under Virtualbox VM. So in this series, I have compiled a number of videos that shows you the end-to-end process for installing Ubuntu under Virtualbox VM, and it involves these major steps. So step number one is to download and install Oracle Virtualbox on your Windows operating system. The step number two is to download Ubuntu 18.04 ISO for its desktop. Step number three is to create a new VirtualBox VM for installing Ubuntu 18.04 and create a new virtual hard disk and allocate the necessary RAM. You then go and configure the VirtualBox VM for accessing internet and connecting the VM from Windows host. So basically this is configuring the network. We'll then go to step number 5 to further configure the VM for allocating the number of processors, attaching the Ubuntu ISO, and check any other associated settings in the VM to make sure everything is complete. And we'll then launch the VM and start Ubuntu 18.04 OS installation. And finally, in step 7, we'll finish the installation and install necessary package for networking. So this particular series, as I said, is simply to install Ubuntu 18.04 under VirtualBox VM in Windows host. But this is not the end of the series. There are a lot more steps that are involved. So basically, I'm going to show you how you can go and create your SSH key pair, how you can run the yum command on Ubuntu, how you can access networking, and how you can access Ubuntu machine on your Windows host via a third-party software or via PuTTY, and so on. So let's start with the first step of downloading and installing Oracle VirtualBox. So for this one, I'm going to go to the Oracle VirtualBox website and download. Alright, so here I'm going to go and download Oracle VirtualBox. So say Oracle VirtualBox, and then I'm going to go straight onto the downloads, and there you'll see Windows host. So just go ahead and download this one, and then you've got to download associated VirtualBox extensions pack. So I'm going to download this one for all supported platforms. And then it may take a while to have this downloaded. Okay, so the VirtualBox and associated extension pack just got downloaded. So I'm going to go there to the downloads, and I'm going to hit on this downloaded.exe file to install VirtualBox. So click on next, again next, and it's up to you what all you want to choose from here. So leave it as it is and hit the next button, and then hit yes to proceed with the installation. And then hit the install button. Now this will just take half a minute or so to complete the installation. Look, it has done that, and then it will open Oracle VirtualBox. So what I'm going to do here is to install the guest additions as well, and I would say the guest additions, by that I meant the extensions pack. So the extensions pack, if at all it is already installed, then if at all there is an update, it's going to ask us that. But if it is not installed, it's going to install it. But if it's an old extensions pack, then we may get this thing like an upgrade. So click on this one, upgrade, and then you hit on agree. Okay, then hit yes, and it's going to install the VirtualBox. Okay. So at this stage, I'm going to go back to our PowerPoint presentation and see what's the next step. So the next step is to download Ubuntu 18.04 ISO for Ubuntu desktop. So let's go to Ubuntu and download this. So you've got to go to Ubuntu website. So I'm going to say Ubuntu 18.04. Okay. And then as you could see, here you have the link. Now I'm going to click on the download now. And this will take a while to download it. So I'm going to pause it for some time and I'm going to come back as soon as this is done. Alright, so as you could see, the Ubuntu 18.04 desktop ISO has been successfully downloaded. So let's go back to the PowerPoint slide to see what's the next step. The next step is to create a new VirtualBox VM for installing Ubuntu 18.04 and create a new virtual hard disk and allocate associated RAM required. So let's do that by going to VirtualBox. So here I'm gonna click on new, and then I'm gonna give a name to our VM. And say something like this, some date. And then let it create over here and then hit the next button. Make sure the version is Ubuntu 64-bit. And then the recommended RAM is just 1 gig, and I'm going to increase this because I just want to make sure the installation completes faster. So let's say around 6 gig or so, and then I'm going to click next. Now before I go further, if you don't have that much of RAM, you can just leave it as it is. You don't have to really change. But since I've got a lot of RAM on my desktop computer, I'm going to increase the RAM just to have the installation pace a bit faster. Then you create a new virtual hard disk. So I'm going to create that now with a type of VDI. You can choose other types if you like. And then I'm going to leave the dynamically allocated option, which means that the hard disk doesn't blocks the physical hard disk space. It basically occupies the space and gets dynamically allocated based on the usage of the VM. Hit next, and then you've got to choose a location. So I'm going to choose a location here. Let's say somewhere like this over here. Okay, I'm going to delete this one, and then I'm going to create it over here and hit the save button. Okay, and then give the size of this hard disk. So I'm going to leave that as 10 GB. I guess it's more than sufficient for Ubuntu installation. So hit the create button. So it's just created. Now let's go and see whether it's indeed created it. And as you could see, you see that's the hard disk which we just created it. Okay. And then let's go to the next step. Configure VirtualBox VM for accessing internet and connecting VM from Windows hosts. So basically, this step is all around networking of the VirtualBox VM, wherein you've got to configure the host. So let's go back to VM and do that. You've got to go to the settings, and then you navigate to network, and here make sure enable network adapter NAT is checked, So by default it is checked anyways. And the next one I'm going to check is the host only adapter, and this adapter is basically belongs to the Virtualbox. And then next adapter I'm going to choose a bridged adapter. Okay, so you have to basically choose just one, but on the safe side I'm choosing two. If at all this one doesn't work, then I can always use this one. Okay, then hit the OK button. So basically from this what will happen is the internet would come via the NAT network, whereas the connectivity between the guest operating system and host operating system will be done via any of the host only adapter or the bridged adapter. Okay, and then you hit the OK button. So the networking is done, which completes step number 4. So let's go to step number 5. Allocate processors, attach Ubuntu ISO, and check other settings. So let's do that. So I'm going to go back to the settings and I'm going to go to the system, and here you can see a tab called as processor. So I will increase the processor to, let's say, 4 CPUs. I've got many CPUs, so I'm giving more, but if you don't have one, you can just leave the default setting as 1 CPU. Alright, and then you go to storage, and that's the place you've got to attach the downloaded Ubuntu ISO. So click on this one. Okay, and then you navigate to the right hand side and you click on this one, and you've got to basically choose what virtual optical drive disk file. So go to the downloads, and here you will find the downloaded file. So check the ISO, click on that and hit the open button. That's all. And what else? You've got to hit the OK button, and then let's see if at all anything else is there. So other settings are all fine. The step number 6 is launch VM and start Ubuntu 18.04 OS installation, and last step is finish installation and install necessary packages for networking. So let's do that by hitting on the start button. So Virtualbox.0 got launched, and within that it is launching the VM. So it will take a minute or two to extract the ISO and launch the installation wizard. So give it a go for a couple of minutes. Okay, so it just started it. So I'm gonna just, as far as the mouse pointer is concerned, when you click on this particular dialog box, the mouse will enter this, but you can't simply exit it just like that. So you've got to basically press the right hand side control key to exit from that mouse integration to bring back mouse from this guest OS to the host operating system. So here you go, it's come to the installation wizard. So I'm going to simply click on the install Ubuntu, and then I'm going to leave the default settings. Feel free to change if you want to change the language options over here. Then hit the continue button, and then in terms of installation, what apps would you like to install to start with normal installation? So basically it will install the GUI, but I want to complete the installation faster, so I'm going to click on minimal installation, and it gives an option to download the updates while installing Ubuntu. So again, it slows down the installation a bit, so we can always update the packages after the installation gets completed. So I'm going to uncheck that now, and then I'm going to click continue. And then it gives us the option of erase disk and install Ubuntu by default. Now basically it will simply erase whatever is there in the virtual hard disk drive. So don't panic over here. It's not going to do anything to your physical hard disk. So the virtual hard disk that I'm referring to is the one that you've just created while you were creating the VM for 10 GB, and that can be viewed over here in your VM itself. So if you go to the settings, then go to the storage, and this is what you've created it, the virtual hard disk drive. So it's going to wipe off anything that resides under this virtual hard disk drive. So as of the moment it doesn't have anything at all, so you don't have to worry about it at all. Simply go and click next to accept this option and hit the install now button to start the installation. So it's just giving us sort of a message. Hit continue to start the installation. Now choose a region. Where are you? So just for the demonstration, I'm gonna leave this as Kolkata, which is in India, but you can choose wherever you are or wherever you wish to have that installed. So give your name. So let's say Kabir, and the computer name, pick a username. So this is the user, like a root user that you would be using after the installation finishes off. Okay, you can give any user as you like. Optionally give a password. Okay, and then you've got things like login automatically, or you require password every time to log in. So I will leave it required my password to log in on the safe side, just to make sure others doesn't use this, to have some sort of a security. Then click on continue button to start the installation. So it's copying the files, and hopefully it will take a couple of minutes to download, or I should say extract the files from ISO, and then to finish off the installation process. So as you could see, it has started the installation, and if you wish to see what's going on in the background, you can simply expand this one to see what's going on, or else you will see only the process updates over here. So this will take a couple of minutes. I'm going to pause it now because there is nothing much to see apart from some sort of cursor being increased here and showing the installation progress. And then as soon as it reaches somewhere over here, I'm gonna come back and show you the rest of the process. You see it's fairly fast. So as you could see, most of the installation is over now. It's removing the installation files. So it took approximately 3 minutes so far, and I believe it's going to take another couple of minutes to finish this off. Alright, so the installation got completed, and it states that you need to restart the computer in order to use the new installation. So hit the restart now. And I believe it's going to take a minute or so to restart it. Alright, there you go. So we've got the login screen and the default user that we created at the time of installation. So click on this one. It's going to ask you the password. Give that and hit the sign in button. There you go. And from here you can explore this machine further. So default apps on the desktop is being shown over here, and then you can also go here and you can go and check the terminal. You see here, and there are other apps that you wish to see. You can explore it. So I'm going to leave it to you to explore, but I'm going to go back to the terminal. Here, and let's go back to the PowerPoint slide to see what's next. So step number 6 got completed, and we are at step number 7, and then we've got to install the necessary package for networking. So let's do that. Usually in other flavors of Linux, for example Red Hat Linux or Oracle Linux, you give ifconfig to see the list of networks installed or configured in your virtual machine. But here you probably may not have it by default. So if I give ifconfig, you see you don't have that package. So I'm gonna give this command. So here you see it has also suggested a command. Always use sudo before giving your commands. So I'm going to give that. If I give something like sudo you see ifconfig not found, so I'm going to simply copy this one and paste it over here and then hit the enter button. Alright, so that's done. Now I'm gonna go back and hit the ifconfig command again, and as you could see, now it is showing us all the networks that we have configured. So this is by default the settings for NAT network, then this is the host only network, and this one I believe is the bridged adapter. Okay, so using these settings in the forthcoming lessons, I'm going to show you how you can connect the host, or how you can connect the guest operating system within the host OS. So for example, this VM, if you would like to access via a terminal in Windows host, then there is a process to do that, and it also involves installation of a third-party utility. So I'm going to show you all that in my separate lessons. At the same time, I'm going to also show you how you can install a third-party utility to FTP from the guest OS to the Windows host. Again, it requires some sort of configuration. Likewise, I'm going to show you how you can generate SSH key pair within Ubuntu OS. And if at all you've got any issues in terms of compatibility of keys or SSH keys generated in Ubuntu, how you can make that compatible and use it while you are creating a new VM under third-party cloud such as Oracle Cloud or Amazon Cloud or AWS. So all that we'll discuss it in our forthcoming movies. Anyway, this is the end of this particular series as to how you can install Ubuntu 18.04 desktop on Windows under Virtualbox VM.